It's always funny when I get customers who don't want to pay, or they want you to discount something, or they want you to give this for free, that for free, or they tell you, well, how come the guy across the street or the guy across town charges less. And so what we're going to talk about is how to make sure that you do not ever devalue yourself, either your business or yourself as a person, for either customers, business relationships, whatever it is, or especially personal relationships. Do not devalue yourself to try and attract people who simply don't see or don't recognize what it is or the value that you have to offer, either as a person or as a business. And I want to talk a little bit about a Japanese restaurant in Manhattan to kind of prove my point. This Japanese restaurant in Manhattan called Masa. It's been around since 2004. It's over by Columbus Circle in the Time Warner building. And it's considered to be one of the most expensive restaurants in the world. Okay? And real quick, it's $600 a person. Okay? $600 a person. That does not include tax or drinks. Okay? So you think about that for a minute, how insane that is, that like for dinner for two pretty much is like the cost of a MacBook, right? Interesting. Then you think about how in Manhattan alone, okay, not the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, just New York City alone, there are already like an estimated 24,000 places to get something to eat. Okay, and quite a few of those are other Japanese sushi restaurants, okay, that don't charge even a fraction of what Masa charges, and you still get delicious food and you still get good service, okay? But what's the point? I mean, how do they get away? How does the owner get away with charging that amount of money per person for dinner? Okay, and the answer is because the short answer is because he offers an amazing experience, an amazing service, and a quality product. The food is delicious, it's exotic. He brings a whole bunch of things in directly from Japan, and the list goes on and on and on, to a point where not only is he the only 2 Michelin star rated restaurant in the United States, but you have people traveling from all over the world, famous chefs, celebrities, people from all over who come to this place for dinner for this experience. Because their patrons, the owner's customers, their patrons get something that they cannot experience anywhere else. Even in an industry that is completely oversaturated, right? The restaurant industry in New York City. You can't walk a block in the city without seeing like several places to get something to eat or drink. People will pay the extra money for a quality service, a quality experience, for quality products, and whatever kind of business it is that you have. And that's the most important lesson I want you to understand as an individual or as a business owner, is not to assume that because you want to open up a business or you have talents and skills in a particular industry where you already have competition, don't go thinking that you have to charge less to attract your more customers. Even charging the same amount of money, if you can do things, or if you're confident enough that you can offer your customers and your clients something better, don't be afraid to charge more money and stick to it. When I get customers that tell me, why are you charging $125 for this particular service when the other guy is only charging me $80? I'm going to go to the other guy that's only going to charge me $80. Have I lost people? Absolutely. Have I lost a lot of customers, especially over the past year, who will never call me back, who I had potential to make quite a bit of money from them, they'll never come back to me. But these are not the types of customers that I want, okay? A lot of it, especially I see it with small businesses, make the mistake of thinking that they want to try to get everybody as their customer. And that's a huge mistake. You want to target a particular audience, and you want to focus on the people who actually want to pay you for your service, people who see the value in what it is that you have to offer, okay? The owner, whose name is Masa, I forgot the last name, I forgot how to pronounce the last name, but he's not going to feel bad for the people in the Bronx and say, you know what, let me have one day where I only charge $20 a meal, you know, I want everybody to come. No, okay? And he's been around since 2004. He's not going anywhere. His prices are going to stay exactly the same, and that's pretty much it. If you want Japanese and, you know, upwards of close to $2,000 is too much for you, then go eat at another Japanese restaurant, okay? And that's exactly the way that I see it for myself, my business, because we offer, this is not an advertisement for TGT really per se. This is just to explain that our group has amazing talent and skills, and we are capable of doing a lot of other things that a lot of local IT and computer repair shops simply can't do, especially with repairing Apple computers. We don't just buy an entire new motherboard. You know, we can actually replace individual components, like unsolder and resolder components on boards, you know, redo wiring, and save people potentially like over $1,000 on doing repairs and making their older computers work just as well as the new stuff. And that's something that in the Bronx you don't find. So I'm not going to charge the same amount of money as everybody else. I'm not going to charge less than everybody else because I want to try to reach everybody in the area. I'm going to cater to the customers who recognize the value and are willing to actually pay all of us for our hard work, our skills, our talents, our gifts, and that's it. And I would encourage any business owner, especially in the restaurant industry, you know, to do the same. Even on an individual level, okay? Don't go running after people who don't see the value in what you have as an individual, okay? I also help people with marital troubles and relationships. I give advice where I can and based on some of my own personal experiences. And I see a lot of people who, you know, they focus, they're chasing somebody, chasing, and they're saying, maybe if I change myself, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that, maybe then they'll like me. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe then they'll we can work things out. And so many times I have to tell these people, even some close friends of mine, stop running after people who don't see what you're worth. Why should you have to fight and sacrifice and lose yourself as an individual with all this like emotional and mental battling to get somebody to see what you're worth? Okay? There are billions of people on this planet. Just because you've had like 4 or 5 or even 10 relationships in the past, you maybe divorced a few times, that doesn't automatically suddenly mean that relationships suck, that marriage sucks, that men suck, or that women suck. Okay? How many people have you honestly been with compared to how many people are actually out there? So don't worry. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff I talk about is easier said than done. And when you fall in love with somebody, or you're in, a long relationship, and then you get to a point where, you have to try to pull yourself away. I'm not talking about marriage, by the way, just relationships and, just normal, girlfriend, boyfriend relationships, whatever. It's hard sometimes. It's really hard when you get comfortable with a person and you spent all this time and then now you have to possibly start all over again. It's not easy, and I get that. But what you have to think about sometimes is, why are you trying so hard to please somebody who just doesn't see what it is that you have? This is not, when you have customers like that, these are not customers that you want. When you have a relationship like that, where you have a boyfriend who's not valuing you, or a girlfriend who doesn't see what it is you're worth, then that's it. Just move on. Okay, I tell a lot of business owners to stop going after these individuals. You want people who are going to pay. As far as relationships are concerned, you want somebody who's not going to just walk away and give up when you have an argument or a fight, or just because you don't agree 100% on things, all of a sudden they're running away. You want somebody who will value you so much that even when you fight, even when you bump heads, even when you disagree, they're still going to stay with you. They're still going to support you. They're still going to help you, because they recognize that they would rather be with you than be without you. And there's no such thing as a relationship that doesn't have problems. You're always going to fight. You're always going to argue. I don't mean always like every day, okay? I'm just saying that this is normal. This is just life. And one of the things I see nowadays is people just give up way too easy. Even people, even though people who they may stay in relationships for years, they don't actually try to take the other person's feelings into consideration. They don't take your past and a lot of what you have been through and look at all the things that you've done for them. It happens all the time. I have that problem in my own family. I see it happen with my friends all the time. Don't waste your time with customers who do not want to pay or do not see the value in your services. And if you're in a relationship with somebody who this kind of sounds the same, then you have to sit down and ask yourself, what are you doing and why? Why are you wasting time with somebody when you're fighting and you're trying to change yourself? You're trying to devalue yourself as an individual to make somebody else like you, make somebody else happy? No, don't do that. That's complete bullshit. I have told customers several times, I tell them, if you go to work and you're working 8 hours a day, okay, and then your boss calls you into the office and he says, "Hey, Billy Bob, come here, got to talk to you, all right? Now look, normally I pay you for 8 hours or 10 hours a day. You work 8 to 10 hours. You work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, all right? And even though you're the only person who can do this job, even though you do it better than anybody else, I don't fully understand your job. And so I'm not going to pay you for the 8 or the 10 hours. Instead, I'm going to pay you only for 5 hours. But you're still going to work 8 or 10 hours, okay? All right, I'm glad we had this talk. Take care. Keep going. Keep working hard, Billy Bob. Good job. I've had this conversation with quite a few people, telling them, if your boss did that to you, what would your response be? If your boss is not going to pay you for what you're putting in, if they're not going to pay you for the amount of time or talent that you have, it's a rhetorical question. Obviously, you're going to find another job. Some of you may just even quit on the spot, or maybe worse, okay? So just bear that in mind as a customer. If you're a business owner, if you're having an issue in a relationship, that it's not a healthy relationship, okay? Again, I'm not talking about marriage. I'm not talking about good relationships. I'm not talking about, especially if you're angry or upset, you have to calm yourself down and think things through. But again, the most important takeaway from this is to make sure that you never, ever devalue yourself for those people who don't want to pay for what your services are actually worth, or for yourself as an individual.